On this album we've been talking about a lot of issues, you know what I'm saying? Issues. But the root to all these issues, bottom line, is sin. It's sin. So on this track we're gonna deal with that. Now in verse number 1, I'ma explain what sin is, what it is. Verse number 2, I'ma tell you what sin do, what it do. And verse number 3, I'ma explain how to be dying to sin, how to defeat it. Let's go. Sin, for instance, is this. It's deception, deceiving, kinda like the culture we're living in, believing the goodness of sex and what it has to offer is better than the goodness of God and His fountain of water. Sin is a choice, it's disobeying God's voice. It's something that you choose. It's you making anything greater than you choose. Sin, if not dealt with, is manifested in your attitude. Sin living in, dwelling from within us the instance we came out the womb. It's attractive, delicious, stimulates the senses. Sight, sound, scent, don't touch or taste. Too late, we already ate its fruit, we're doomed. But hold up, wait, I bring you good news. Through faith in Christ, a brand new life.
I got put on my neighborhood at 13 years old. I was banging. I'm still banging. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm still banging. Like, I'm in progress, but making progress towards, you know, developing a different type of lifestyle. But as you can see, this red shit, I can't get rid of it. You know what I mean? It's worse than a drug, I think, at times, because,
you know, there comes a time when all that accounting is done. You know, what would be the thing that you're so fearful of really letting go and starting a new life? Being in the same man that you are, but a new life. See, the new life will come, but you'll be the same man, you know?
I feel that. I don't even have no real answer to that, because like I said, like, I'm not, honestly, I was trying to give up on my hood like a year ago. I was telling you I'm ready to give up on it. You know what I mean?
Man, we're here at Nickerson Gardens in Watts, in California. We're about to go do a reach out, youth reach out, or whatever you want to call it. We're definitely gonna be doing some ministering, just touching the people and meeting them where they're at. You know, it's what it's about, being out here in the streets and getting the dirty work done that nobody wants to do. We're not in the office, we're here live and we're touching people. So I'm here with ThugExposed, and great organization, Rayford, you know, awesome man, and you know, a couple of his partners. So.
My name is Junior Munoz. I'm from ThugExposed.Org. We have a ministry, and God has entrusted us with for some time. I'm a former associate of the Mexican mafia, and for some time I was deceived by the lie.
The definition of a thug is any person who uses violence or brutality. The definition of mentality, the attitude toward life, toward society, or one's intellectual capacity.
Life ain't easy. You can change it.
You can change.
Life ain't easy. Rearrange it. Life ain't easy. You can change it. Life ain't easy. Rearrange it.
So you wanna be a thug, sell drugs, homie riding down the block with a pocket full of bud. What's up, cuz? What's up, blood? It is what it is, and it was what it was. Dipping through the hood, watching out for the fuzz. Sipping on the drink in the cup, feeling buzz. Rolling down the block with a big mean mug, with a heart full of hate.
We begin this evening with a verdict in the so-called nutcase murder trial. An Alameda County jury found DeMarcus Rawls guilty of murdering 4 people and committing a number of other crimes in a spree that began back in 2002. It's our top story tonight. Police say the suspects were inspired by this video game, Grand Theft Auto 3. In the game, the players were awarded points for crimes. KTVU's Mike Meback is in the newsroom now.
Welcome to Teens for Christ. I am your host, Jennifer Diggett, and I want to thank you for tuning in to our second segment on Thug Mentality Exposed. For those of you who couldn't catch the first segment, our same guests are here. We have the esteemed Rayford Johnson, who is the author of the book Thug Mentality Exposed. Welcome. And Pastor Levon Davis. So we are going to jump right in and give a quick recap for those of you who couldn't catch the first segment. If you could go ahead and give us a little bit of background information on what thug mentality is.
Well, basically in a nutshell, just a evil and sinful lifestyle presented as cool, sexy, and to be respected. Like I said, a lot of the guys in the institution call it the new swagger.
This is Bobby Jackson. I read Thug Mentality Exposed. It's a great book. You need to check it out. I have some friends, family, people that I know that have experienced gang violence that goes through that. So check out the book, read it. But you also can go to ThugExposed.Org to check out more scenes and more update on the book.
Within the most hardcore thug gang members, you know, when you present to them the truth, just like John 8:32 says, the truth will make you free, something happens. It's like their conscience becomes awakening. And it's like, man, I did not know that.
Right.
Tell me more.
I think the interesting thing about the book and the response has to do with people really want to be informed. A lot of people that are living, they're living lies. They're not living the truth. They're trying to find out what they want to do.
Right.
And when they get this information, it is enlightening. And I think that's why Ray and I would make an excellent team. He brings the enlightenment about the history. Now that I'm enlightened, what do I do?
Exactly.
I got the information. How do I get out? What do I do? And that's where we come in, deal with the mental psyche of an individual, deal with the spirituality. But the book has been a phenomenal tool, and getting information to people, and they're almost like,
it's a Thugese ceremony. They're worshiping Kali.
Thugese were made up of Muslims and Hindus, and they worshiped a goddess. And their goddess's name was Kali. Okay? And Kali was a goddess of death and destruction. See, back in ancient times, I mean, even unto today, you know, they would want to appease their gods and goddesses. Why? Because a lot of people don't know the word pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmika, right? Which means sorcery.
Hi, I'm Bob Murray, Executive Director of Hope, Help, and Healing here in Auburn, California. We have a ministry to alcoholics and drug addicts, if you're not familiar with our program. But we so appreciate Rayford coming and ministering to our men here. He's been an inspiration, and to say the least, and we're just excited every time he comes. And today we had our pastor's prayer time here at our office, and one of the pastors got so excited about it he had to stay and watch the rest of the meeting. So we're thankful. Thank you, Ray, and any of you out there that are thinking of having Ray come and speak at your meeting, facility, whatever that is for you, I highly encourage it. He's a great speaker, especially to those in recovery and to those that are suffering from their past problems with street gangs and issues like that. So God bless, and thank you very much.
Dictate our emotions. Our emotions dictate our actions produce our results. So I tell people, keep bear in mind. But music and the brain. Well, a lot of people say, well, you know, I just listen to this music for the beat, right? I just listen to it for the beat. But what they say is, like, right now as I'm talking to you, you can shut me down. You could be thinking about them hot chocolate chip cookies right now. And just, you know, I'm just going to shut him down. I can't wait till this gets over. It's getting late. Okay? But if they say, if I put a cool beat that you like, a cool rhythm that you like with your soul, the emotional state connects. Your soul connects to that beat. You might think that you're shutting me down, but as long as part of your soul is connected, what they say is the words that I'm speaking will bypass your left brain guardianship and go into your right brain, into your subconscious. People say, well, big deal, it's in my subconscious. But what they discovered is that when we sleep, during your sleep cycle, what's in your right brain gets transferred to your left brain, and you begin to believe and understand things, not even knowing you're understanding.
6, 6, 6. Murder, Jesus. 6, 6, 6. This ain't fake, homeboy, it's reality. Sitting in myself again, wishing I can go back. I'm so sorry. Change the things that I've done.
I see young people after coming to his class, oftentimes the volunteers or people that come in don't really get to see the effect that they're having. But because I'm housed there, I see the difference on their faces, their expressions. I hear and see hope where there was no hope. And I think Ray Johnson and his program can be credited with helping to improve the atmosphere in the individual cells, and I think make the job easier for the probation officers within the institution. I see more and more young people who are now coming to his classes. Like most young people, they want to check him out, see if he was for real, if he knew what he was talking about. He's for real, and he knows what he's talking about. And the staff has expressed to me, that's not only the lower line staff, but the administrative staff, how pleased they are about his level of professionalism and the quality of his material.
And I really enjoy having him because what I wanted was the students to get have a testimonial or an experience from somebody who does work in the field, but also has, as well as knowledge about the kinds of topics and issues that are relevant to my students and the kinds of things that he can bring to the classroom as well.
I saw the presentation at ThugExposed.Org on 3 different occasions. The first time was this summer at St. Paul Baptist Church at a youth group. I was very impressed with it, and I'd seen Ray before, and so I asked for his card so that I could get in contact with him so that he could do a presentation at the Alpha Academy. He came out and did a presentation at the Alpha Academy, which is a mentoring group for young men 12 to 18, and they were very impressed by it, and so I asked him to come out and speak at the college to my 2 college classes, Contemporary Problems of Athletes. And he came out and they were very impressed, first of all in terms of him giving a history of different issues, such as where did sagging come from, and he talked about that. And he also brought in a video presentation.
The mentality, this ain't fake, homeboy, it's reality. Sitting in myself again, wishing I can go back. I'm so sorry. Change the things that I've done. But your man is getting at me. Jesus loves me. Saying I could be forgiven. Oh, okay.
Little review. Okay. How many parts of the brain do we have? 2. 2 parts. Very good. Okay, so if I'm listening to some music, right, and I'm just listening to it for the beat, and even though I might not be paying attention to those words, where are those words going? Once they bypass my left brain, where are they going?
The right brain.
To the right brain. Now, during the sleep cycle, what happens? To the right brain, to the where?
The left brain.
Right, and I start believing and understanding the words and messages, maybe not even knowing I'm believing and understanding it, right? And so we're going to talk today about the power of words, okay? The Bible says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. How many of you guys familiar with the rhyme, sticks and stones will hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me? You guys familiar with that? How many know that's a lie? Okay? How many know words can't hurt? How many know that people that have been hurt by words, or have you been hurt by words? Right? Everybody's been hurt by some words, somebody saying some hurtful things. But we're going to talk about the power of words because I want you to listen closely, the process of how words work. A word becomes a thought. A thought becomes an imagination. An imagination becomes a desire.
What is your take, man, on the curriculum that was showed, and how do you feel the students received it?
First and foremost, I think this is one of the programs that every kid, every adult could really benefit from. I felt like the curriculum was very to-date. It was all-inclusive and really hit on a lot of important issues and controversies that are going on right now that children and adults alike should be very informed about. I thought that the kids took it really well. They were very interested. It was appealing to them, but very informative, so it was a great balance.
Today in the class, we actually asked the question, how many kids listen to positive music? And out of that group, there wasn't one that raised their hand. And in the second class, there was only 2 that raised their hand. And so, as you can see, the influences and the music that's being presented out there is really devastating the lives of the kids. They don't even realize it because they listen to the beat, because it's popular, because it's mainstream, and the whole time that they're listening to that, it's just destroying their lives, just getting them on a mindset that's leading them to unproductivity and destruction. I mean, right now you're just talking about how the dropout rate here in Vallejo, I think, is like 70%, 60-70%, and it's rising all over, and a lot of that has to do with the negative influences of media. And so I think now is a crucial time for artists like Matthew to stand up and other artists to stand up and give good music, which is, first of all, they're just as talented, if not talented, than more of the famous artists that are out there, but the music is just as good and has a positive message. So we can start putting a dent in the work that's being done right now by the enemy and start turning it around for something.
Hey, hey, we got life. Hey, hey, we got life. Cause we give it up, lay it down, and we die. It's Christ out here, no I out here. We ain't holding on to this like, no, we don't care.
Talk about music and the influence of music and everything. When I was in high school, I used to listen to, all kinds of music. I used to listen to this one band in particular, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and they had this song that came out, and it was about doing ecstasy. You guys heard of ecstasy? Yeah. It was about doing ecstasy, and this song sounded so good. I mean, it was like a hit song to me. It was one of those songs that you play over and over and over and over again. And it just sounded so good, and I started repeating the lyrics. I just feel so high, doing this ecstasy. That's what they were talking about, and I was repeating those lyrics. And my college, at the end of my freshman year of college, I kind of got burnt out on school, and I wanted to try something different. I was curious about this drug ecstasy, and what sparked my curiosity was this song I was listening to. This song imparted, the knowledge about this ecstasy, and it made it seem so cool to me and appealing to me and curious about it. So at the end of my freshman year of college, I ended up taking ecstasy, and I almost lost my life. I couldn't eat anything for 3 days. I had to go to the hospital. I was losing my mind. I'm like, what's going on? I came back to college 4 months later. I was not the same. I had dropped in basketball. I was out of shape. I came back to play basketball. I was out of shape, and it really set me back, and again, by the grace of God, I'm alive. I didn't lose my life, but it did set me back and detour my goals. It got me off track with the goals and the things I wanted to do in life. And so, that's just how music can influence us.
Now, that second student that had a positive song, what was that message? What was the song about? What did she say?
Her song was, I'm so sexy. And I said, how was that positive?
Right.
And she said it's positive because you're sexy. Now that's a negative message. You're being stereotyped. You're being put. You're being exploited. Yeah, you're being exploited right there. So, the kids don't even understand what the positive message is. And so, now the truth is starting to permeate the darkness, and that's what it's all about.
9 or 10 years old, I witnessed a murder in front of our house after I got home from church with my older stepbrother. We were the only witnesses to the murder, and just kind of early on, didn't realize it at the time, but one of the things that, one of the people that taught me responsibility, again, was my mother. And so there was no question that I was going to testify in court on that homicide because I was one of only 2 witnesses to it. And so it never crossed my mind that I would not testify, something that we see often today, because from the very start, my mom, that was the right thing to do. You witnessed it, you go in and you say what you says to me. If you don't calm down, I'm going to call the police. And so I literally told her, well, call them. Maybe they can talk some sense into you. Now, normally that wouldn't go over too well, but I guess that day my mom decided to call my bluff, and so she dialed 911, and the officers got there very fast. I have to say now that after 24 years in law enforcement, that's probably the fastest any police officers have ever gotten anywhere.
When I was a kid, I went to the movies. People don't realize how movies impact a person's life. And I went, and my heroes as a kid were always the Lone Ranger. Dig this. The Lone Ranger. I like the Lone Ranger. He was cool. Robin Hood. He was cool, you know. And Zorro. He was cool. And there was a movie called Black Bart. And he was a cool old guy at town. But at night, he'd put that hood on and he'd take care of business. He's straightening things out. Well, Zorro put on the hood. The Lone Ranger wore the mask. And those were kind of my heroes. I was sort of fascinated with these guys that always, at night, they would do something kind of radical and sort of cool. And of course, you had Tarzan and the Lone Ranger and Gene Autry, you know, and those kind of guys. But I was always fascinated with some of those Western guys that they had a gun and they had a mask. And then later on, some of my heroes became more sophisticated. And I sort of liked the Cary Grant because he was handsome and he was cool, you know. And they had a movie, To Catch a Thief. And they were jewel thieves. And then you had David Niven. And they were always in a tuxedo. They got the good-looking chicks, you know. But they were doing cool things. And nobody really got hurt. They were but they were heroes.
For the church, because we often want to believe that people can get saved. However, do we really believe that people can get saved? We can speak it, we can talk it, we look at each other and say, nah, we gonna get 1 or 2 people tonight and we gonna get them off the street and get them saved. But then once we get them saved, we still don't let the blood cover what is covered.
Right.
And there's very few individuals, and I would just venture to say like us, that have been to the depths that can say, well, you know what, we ain't scared of these folks. Let's get out there, let's get at them.
Right.
Let's make it happen. I know it happened for me, and so it can definitely happen for them. But the bulk of the church hasn't been there. They're talking it, but have never walked it. And without them ever walking it, they will never give God the ability to come out the box and say, God can do that for them.
Right.
But they'll say, in all prostitutes and all pimps and all, yeah, you talking a whole bunch of talk. But what are you doing about it?
Right.
Nothing. You're staying in your cubicles, you're sitting in your pews, you're writing your name on the boardwalk outside, but you're not jumping out there. And that's where people like us, I believe, become a big factor. Because we can say, no, I know for a fact he could be saved.
Right.
Because guess what? Look at you. Guess what? Look at me. And so the church, I think, really has to get a hold of those that they know and they trust that have been there and say, hey, look, we need you to do something about it.
Where were you and what year and how you got involved?
Okay. See, there's a lot of books being written, a lot of documentaries about the Mexican mafia, like other prison gangs, right? But it started back in 1958, right, in Tracy, California. I was there for manslaughter. And I remember one of the originals was Widow Buff from Hawaiian Gardens. They had started this prison gang, right? And there was a killing. And they kind of faded away right away. So I came from Preston, and I started, me and a few more guys were in the hole all the time, isolation, adjustment center right there in Tracy. I remember that we started a little revolution with the guards, right?
Aaron Dunn had a tattoo on him of the Grim Reaper. That's the angel of death, the Grim Reaper. And so I talk about that in the book as well. But he was being driven by by Satan, by that satanic force. And what gave him the courage to do what he did was the music, the drugs and the music.
What music was Aaron?
He was listening to Leonard Skinner and just all of this dark, demonic music. And as he's shooting, at people, and shooting people, even when he shot my husband, you could hear that music being played in the background. And
so he had it playing in his car.
I had this Bible there that was given to me by the brother that I killed, who was also in a dropout. His brothers were mafiosos. They were in the MN. And he had sent some Christian people to visit me. After we'd been set up a couple of times in the county, he got out and he sent some Christian people to visit me, and I thought it was another setup. But when I go down, there was a man and a woman with a guitar behind the glass there, and I'm looking at them. They says, "You're Sammy Dominguez?" I says, "Yeah." They said, "You're not going to believe this, but Danny sent us to see you. He said you're his worst enemy. You killed his brother." He says, "But since he's been out, he's come to acknowledge Christ as his Lord and Savior. And he would like to see you do the same thing in due time." So from the time that I caught the chain to go to the pen, they were visiting me once a week, just sharing with me. You know,
I used to live in a back house with my mom and my stepdad after they had gotten married, and I used to sleep in the front room. And all of a sudden something came to me, and I covered myself, and then all of a sudden I talked to him, and he said that I'd be all right the rest of my life if only I'd follow him. And that's when I made my path.
What did that voice sound like? Was it a scary voice? Was it?
Actually, I was so young, yes, it scared me, because I was awful young. And you got to remember, I was seeing something out of the supernatural. But only by the grace of God, I sit here now telling this story.
Amen. And so you've seen this being. Now, did it ever come back and return to visit you?
It sat on my bed, and then one time I saw another being moving through the house. And that happened later, years later. I seen a beam at my foot, some kind of demon at my feet.
They self-respect. What is your self-respect? Your self-respect is tied with your conscience. When you violate your conscience, you violate your self-respect. Y'all know that? I talk to gang members and they'll tell me, "Why are you in a gang?" And they'll be like, "Man, it's all about respect." I'm like, "Really? Let's test that." It's all about respect. I'm like, "Really? Let's test that." I said, "Does anything you do as a gang member violate your conscience?" What do you think they tell me? All of them basically tell me yes, right? Yeah, it bothers me. A lot of them say they can't live with themselves. They can't even stand the sound of their voice. They got to have music all the time. And they say it's all about respect. I'm like, well, that's kind of funny how you talk about it's all about respect. But when you violate your conscience, you violate your own self-respect. If I can make you do something you don't really want to do, didn't I make you basically violate your self-respect? They go, yeah. And I'm like, well, then how is it about that it's all about respect when you violate your own respect? I say, you see, it's a lie. It's an illusion. You acting hardcore. You acting thinking you a gangster, but you're violating your own conscience. You live in a lie. And when they get a revelation of the truth and they really realize that, they're like, man, I'll tell them, don't even try to act hard, man. Don't even try to do that, because you already told me you violate your conscience. You done disrespected yourself. The reason why you want to beat him up and get respect is because you can't give respect to yourself. Ain't that true? People ain't trying to get hard. People trying to act hard in the
We expose it.